If you're getting into real estate, I'm sure that you've heard the term wholesaling houses. It's the biggest get-rich-quick scheme there is right now. All the real estate gurus are teaching it. And the way they make it sound unsophisticated, uncomplicated, and that anyone can do it. And you want to know what this does to homeowners like yourself and myself? It puts homeowners in a situation where they're banking on an investor like us purchasing their property, and then 2, 3, 4 days prior to closing, they get a call, and it's the wholesaler stating, "I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I can't buy your house. I'm backing out of this contract." Now, what does that do to the real estate business overall and in general? And that's what I'm going to break down in this video on how it's creating a bad reputation for real estate investors, how you can avoid it in the exact conversations that you need to have with homeowners so you can wholesale houses properly. But before I get into it, if you guys could please hit the subscribe and like button down below, it helps tremendously. And my name's Carter. I'm a 25-year-old real estate investor. I've done to date over 80 plus properties, flip, wholesaling, rentals. We have a portfolio of about 30 some odd units. And on the traditional realtor side of the business, I've done tens of millions of dollars worth of residential transaction. Now let's get into what actually is wholesaling real estate. So wholesaling, there's multiple different facets of real estate. For example purposes, for this video, I'm going to be talking about assignment of contract wholesaling, which means that there is the beginning investor, a middle investor, and then the end seller involved in the transaction. And how this typically works is, say investor number one, they get the property under contract. They market to the seller, they get the property under contract, and then they find someone else to purchase that contract on the property for a fee of some sort, which is called an assignment of contract fee, to then purchase the end buyer's property. Now, how do you properly explain this to a seller? Should you properly explain this to a seller and disclose it? I think you should, but I'll show you, for example, how we personally do it in our business, so we're extremely transparent with the sellers and we're not putting them at risk of not selling their property when it comes down to it. So let's jump into it right now. So what is the first step in the process when you're looking at getting into wholesaling real estate? And in my complete and honest opinion, I believe you need to get educated. You need to whether you're doing it on YouTube or whether you're joining someone's course, whether you're signing up for a large program or going to your local real estate investment association, you need to get educated on the different facets and avenues involved in real estate. Do you plan on wholesaling real estate to fix and flip investors, buy and hold investors, slumlords, Airbnb investors? Who do you plan on selling your wholesale deals to? Because this does matter at the end of the day. And going along with that, after you get educated, you're going to want to start building what's called a cash buyers list. So a cash buyers list is just individuals who will purchase your wholesale deals. They've expressed an interest in real estate investing, or they currently are involved in real estate investing, and they're looking for more deals, and they might not be finding them by themselves. So you're going to get in contact with these investors, whether it's at the local meetups or Facebook groups or Craigslist or real estate agents. Get in contact with them, and you're going to put their name, phone number, and email into your CRM system, or MailChimp is what we use in our business. Again, I think MailChimp is probably one of the better softwares, but figure out for yourself. You can decide there. But build your cash buyers list, because these individuals will buy your deals. The better relationships that you have, typically the higher price point that you can get, and the more individuals that will be interested in your wholesale deals at the end of the day. Now, after you have your list of cash buyers, what's the next step in the process? And it is identifying the marketing method that you personally have time to do and that you want to do for at least 60 to 90 days without stopping. 60 to 90 days straight. If you fall off for a week or two, it destroys the entire thing. So you need to pick something that you can commit to, that you have the time for, that you have the budget for, that you can stick with it for 60 to 90 days. Some examples would be cold calling, text messaging, driving for dollars, direct mail, SEO, PPC, bandit signs. There's so many options, or even talking with real estate agents, networking with agents, or buying from foreclosure steps. Whatever you need to do to get deals is what you need to stick with for 60 to 90 days. And again, you need the budget and the time to commit to this on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. So after you commit for 60 to 90 days, then you'll continually do this, and you'll start getting in contact with owners who may have interest in selling, owners who might tell you to F off or get lost because they don't know why you're reaching out. They are very insulted that you would reach out regarding their property, and they don't want to hear from you again. So that's just the name of the game. It happens all the time. We get calls every single day from homeowners who are telling us, in lack of a better term, to get screwed. So it is what it is there. But once you start talking to homeowners, then what you can do is just figuring out, okay, my cash buyer, I talked to John, the cash buyer, or Cindy, the cash buyer, I talked to a couple of weeks ago. They said they're really into the zip code at 12345. They're into ranch 3-bedroom, 1-bath houses. And I just talked to an owner with a ranch 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. So if that owner would be willing, or if they're in the process of looking at selling their property and they would take a discounted offer on it, then maybe you have a potential lead. And now, of course, you're not going to come out and ask the owner, are you going to take a discounted property or a discounted price for your property? That would be the stupidest thing that you can possibly do. You just want to pre-qualify them. And when I say that, you want to ask them the right questions. And I'm not going to get into it extremely deep here, but you want to find why they're selling, what price they're looking at selling for, the condition of the property, and what their timeline is. So the 4 different methods for pre-qualification, you want to find that information out to know if you may or may not have a deal. And again, the more experience you have, the more sellers you'll talk to, and the better you will get at this. And in the beginning, I wasn't great. I would be far from it. And I always recommend going on as many appointments as possible to get to know sellers, to get your interpersonal communication skills that much better. Because once your communication skills are better, you can negotiate deeper discounted deals, and you can go back and forth with the seller and it won't feel so scripted. It'll be just a flowing conversation of negotiating back and forth what you're trying to do, what they're trying to do, and they will feel comfortable with the relationship that you've built. So let's just say that after going on 5 to 10 appointments, you finally found the property that you're ready to make an offer on. And this is where so many wholesalers screw up. They just screw the pooch, for lack of a better term, in this, because wholesalers, or newbie wholesalers, or real estate investors, if you want to call them that, they overestimate the repaired value of the property, so what it's worth when it's all said and done, and they underestimate what it's going to take to get to that point. So what I would personally do is study up and get familiar with what the actual construction costs are associated with doing a remodel. So that means networking with other investors, and specifically fix and flip investors, property managers, rental property investors who are actively involved in the rehab and rehabilitation of their own properties. Because the worst thing that you can possibly do, which I'll get into later in this video, is contract a property for too high and then having to go back and either back out or renegotiate, which I talked about again at the beginning of this video. That is the one flaw of all new wholesalers. But let's just say you found that 3-bedroom, 1-bath property that John or Cindy is looking for, and you're ready to make the offer. You estimated the rehab properly, you estimated the repaired value properly, you talked with a realtor, you talked with some contractors, and you got your numbers all in line. Now, how do you explain this to the homeowner on what you're trying to do? Because you're not going to be purchasing their property, and they need to be aware of that you have investors that you're going to be partnering with. So how our conversations always go, and how we explain it to the homeowner is, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, so I just want to let you know that on all my deals, the deals that I purchase, I partner with other investors on. So it doesn't change anything for you guys. I just want you to be aware that it doesn't change anything for you, but I need at least a 30-minute time frame where I can bring my other investor partners through the property with me. And there might be a boatload of them. There might not be too many, depending upon who all has interest in the deal. And then it's just an agreement between them and myself on, we're going to partner on this deal together. going to purchase it and move along with the same exact terms we're agreeing to today. Are you all right with that? And then you wait for their response. And if they're all right with it, great. If they're not, so be it. Then it might not be the deal for you. But most homeowners, 95% of homeowners, are totally comfortable with this because you are solving their problem. You're going to go through the list of the questions that you asked before. Okay, they're wanting to move out of state, or they're selling a rental property that's been a headache. So Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner, I'm solving this problem, this problem, this problem. I just have to partner with my investors. We need to come here 30 minutes, give or take the day. Typically in the evening or afternoon works the best, and hold an open house style event. And that's what we mainly do with our wholesale deals, is hold an open house style event. Or if you're on the virtual wholesaling side of things, you can get a ton of video of the property when you're there, a ton of photos. And then once you have those, you can send it out to your cash buyer database and say, get in contact with me if you have interest in this property based upon what you saw. And say, just give me a preliminary offer. If the offer is good for what you saw in the videos, we can take a peek at it. Now, if there's something changed, of course, you can renegotiate the offer afterwards. But I am going to make the assumption that we have a deal at such and such price. You can go that route if you're virtual wholesaling and you're nervous about having the conversation with the homeowner. But 9 times out of 10, the homeowner hasn't sold a property in the past like 5 to 10 years, so they're not extremely familiar. So they're banking on you and your judgment to get this deal to closing. And you need to reassure them, you need the confidence to assure them that everything will be fine. I do this all the time. I partner with my other investors. They're seasoned, they have experience, and we're ready to make this deal happen. And once you're done with the open house event or the virtual walkthrough of the investors and then finally getting some through, you will hopefully assign your contract to an end investor. And we do this using a simple assignment of contract. It's a 1-page form. You might have a more complicated one, or definitely speak with your attorney. But our assignment of contract just states that the end investor will be assuming all terms of our offer. They're responsible for all the closing costs. They have to put down a non-refundable earnest money deposit, and they will close on or before the closing date in our offer to purchase. So it's very simple and straightforward once you get to that point, and then you monitor it all the way up till closing and get the cash in your pocket. Now, let's go over some of the pitfalls that some new investors might make when it comes to wholesaling real estate. So pitfall number 1, which I discussed earlier in this video, is contracting the property for too high of a price due to underinflating the rehab cost or overinflating the after repair value. Now, the second pitfall that I also see correlating with this is not giving yourself enough time to assign the contract. And what I mean by this is you're putting the closing date 14 days out, and you need at least 7 days to get your investors in there, and then they need another 14 days to close it. So general rule of thumb, if this is your first deal, give yourself 20 to 30 days. Most homeowners are fine with that, especially if they're living in the property, and it gives you that little bit of extra time to find an investor to purchase the contract from you, especially if you might have contracted it a little bit too high. You can do some legwork on your side to get the deal done. And then pitfall number 3 is doing it in a bad part of town. So again, by talking with your cash buyers to begin with, you should have an idea on where they are buying property, where they're flipping property, where they're renting property, where they want to do their next deal. And if you do this properly, then you shouldn't have a problem with pitfall number 3. Pitfall number 4 would be not having enough cash buyers. So say you have 10 or 15 people, that is not nearly enough. If they're serious cash buyers, it might be, and if they're buying every single deal that comes up, then it might be. But what I would recommend doing is reaching out to the big investors in your marketplace and saying, okay, John, Jim, Larry, Cindy, Sue, where are you guys all buying property at? What discounts are you looking for? And then you as the wholesaler should find a deeply discounted property, deep enough that you can sell it to them, make a quick buck on it, and then move on with your day, because that's what you're in the business for. That's what wholesaling is. And then pitfall number 5, wrapping this video up, is not getting a proof of funds or a non-refundable earnest money deposit from your end investor. If you do not do this, you put yourself and the homeowner at risk at the end of the day of the deal not closing. So again, make sure you have the $5,000 at least in non-refundable earnest money. You have a proof of funds showing that the end investor has the cash available or they have access to the cash to purchase your deal on the specified closing date, and then make sure that it happens. So I hope you guys found this information valuable. If you're interested or wanting to know more about wholesaling real estate, or if you have questions, comment down below. But please smash the like and subscribe button. I greatly appreciate you spending the time and watching this video with me. And like I said, feel free to connect with me on social media. I wish you guys the ultimate success, and I will talk to you soon.